Hi, welcome to a presentation by the Academic Learning Centre for Enterprise Systems. Today we're going to look at an overview of the assessment schedule for this course. So the outline of today's presentation is basically we're going to look at taking a holistic approach. We're going to talk about assignment 3 first in terms of taking a holistic approach. We're going to talk about the annotated bibliography, which is assignment 1. We're going to talk about how to critically analyze a source, discuss CQ Harvard referencing basics. You should already know about referencing, but we'll go over it again just to make sure. And I'll direct you to more help as well. So we're talking about a holistic approach, meaning looking at the whole of the assessment. There are 3 assignments that relate to this one case. So assignment 1, assignment 3, and assignment 5. Overall, that's 80% of your grade. The bulk of it comes from assignment 3, so don't look at them separately. Focus on the case analysis, which is obviously assignment 3. The annotated bibliography should come naturally out of that assignment, meaning the research for the assignment assignment 3 creates assignment 1. So if you look at assignment 1 by itself and go and do some basic research, not really understanding the case and not really understanding the issues, you're not going to be doing yourself any favors. If you, on the other hand, look at assignment 3, do very deep understanding, very deep research of assignment 3, analyze the case quite well, then choose your references that you're going to use for your assignment and for assessing the case. Look at those assessments, summarize them. You'll naturally be doing assignment 1, and it's a much better way to work because you'll end up with a better product for assignment 1 and a better product for assignment 3. So let's look at the case study. Well, you're investigating the case and the ERP implementation. Do extra research on the case as your lecturer or the course outline gives you. They give you one example of the case. It's really, really important to go and do extra research on the case and find out as much as you can about the case before you begin. Once you've analyzed the case, you can consider the ERP implementation and what went wrong. You've got to look at the content of your course. So look further into the textbook, look further into your Moodle sites. What are you going to be studying in week 6, in week 10, in week 9, in week 8? These chapters are going to help you to understand ERP implementation. It's really important that you look further into the course and that you really reflect on what the course is trying to teach you, what the textbook is saying, to better understand the basic concepts of ERP implementation before you actually begin looking in databases to find sources for your annotated bibliography. So once you know what you're doing, you can find other cases, theories, and examples using the library database, of course, related to ERP implementation, and then develop an argument that helps to support your case. So the whole argument is, should the CIO change the business process to match the system functionality, or should they customize the software to match the business processes? Either way, you have to understand both of these arguments well. The assignment 1 outline, well, it's 15% of the marks for the course, and that's the total marks. You've got to use 10 references of 150 words for each, so 1,500 words. That's not much wordage for 10 references. Mainly what you have to do is follow the template provided, which follows as instructions. The introduction, where you introduce the topic and the references. Why did you use these ones and how are they relevant to the case? Here is just a general introduction. I'd probably say maybe 100 words. Yeah. Moving on to the actual annotations where you put your 10 references. Here you have to write the full reference as a heading, exactly as it would go in a reference list and exactly as it will go in your reference list, using the CQU Harvard referencing guide to do that. Then you want to follow that heading reference for each annotation with 3 short paragraphs. The first one summarizing what the reference was about, what are the main points, what are the main findings, what does the source discuss. Secondly, assessing the reference, so assessing and analyzing, I'd like to say, so thinking about who wrote it, who was the audience, for whom was it written, considering the strengths and the weaknesses of the research or of the point of view of the source, really using all the tools that we use to critically analyze the usefulness and worthiness of a source. For example, when was it written? Was it written at the beginning of the development of ERP? ERP implementation and ERP systems, or is it a more recent article? Can you compare those two? Can you compare a historical look at ERP implementation as opposed to a more current look? Lots has changed in the last 20 years since ERP implementation really came on the scene, so consider those things. Were there other factors involved, such as financial factors, global financial crisis, the coming of the internet? There are lots of different things that have happened, but you need to think, when was this created, and how does that affect the validity or reliability of the source? Lastly, the last paragraph will be reflecting on the source, and by this I mean, what are you using the source for? How does it help to inform your argument of ERP implementation in the case study? You'll finish your assignment 1 with a conclusion, which is very similar to the introduction. You're going to discuss how the sources you chose are relevant to the case. You're going to summarize the annotations, basically, and then provide a reference list, again using the CQU Harvard Referencing Guide. And by that I mean the full guide. It's very important when you reference to check that your references are correct with all the correct formatting by using the CQU Referencing Guide. Focus on the case. Again, research the case first before you begin your annotated bibliography. Make sure you really understand what your argument is. Understanding the argument is going to ultimately help you to choose your sources. Again, for the annotated bibliography, consider what are the main points of the source when you're summarizing. Who is the author? Who is it written for? Or for whom is it written? What are the source's strengths and weaknesses? Lastly, what does this source do for your argument? That's where you reflect the final paragraph. Okay, I want to talk a little bit now about referencing. You should already know about referencing, but again, it's important to go over it. You've got to use the CQ Harvard referencing system. So we reference ultimately in 2 places, you should know, in text and in the reference list, which it begins on a separate piece of paper. We talk a lot about paraphrasing. In this assignment, your lecturer really doesn't want to see too much direct quoting. So when you use a paraphrase, you've got basically 2 options. You can put the information first, as example 1, information prominent, and then say, I got that information from this source, include the surname and the year, or you can do the number 2 examples, which are basically author prominent. So according to author, year, then the information, or author, year, states, that, then the information. The second example really shows that you are focusing more on the author, well, not more on the author, but the author is an important part of your argument. So, for example, if you were using the textbook in your assignment 3, you might say according to the text, because that's really an integral part of your course. If you really want to say somebody has got the wrong idea or the wrong argument, or really make it about a certain situation that the author brings up, you might use author prominent. Either way, you should have a good mix of the 2. Direct quotes. So if we're using the exact words, obviously it's a direct quote. We do the same as before, so the year and the surname of the author, the year, but you add your single quotation marks, and again, single quotation marks, not double. Put in a comma and a page number. Remember that direct quotes should not be used too much, ultimately only 10%, and for this assignment I would say perhaps even less. They should only be used for definitions or for powerful statements that have the words have greater meaning, as poetry or a speech, for example. And the main point about that is a direct quote doesn't actually show that you understand what is being said. I can get a direct quote from anywhere, but it doesn't show that I can that I've understood the information and absorbed the information. Think about a parrot. A parrot can say, "Wah, wah." You can say, "Hello, how are you?" Or, "Hello, how are you?" But does it really mean "how are you"? No, it just means squawk, squawk. So direct quotes are not as valuable to your lecturer and to your markers to show them that you really understand the concepts that you're using. So some examples of direct quotes. Again, we've got 2 examples, information prominent, and then example number 2 and 2.1 is author prominent, single quotation marks, surname, year, comma, page, 2. I've also put in there that you might see, add your evaluation here. And we say that because as the parrot says, any quote's a quote, but it doesn't show me that you understand. So I really want to see, what's your evaluation? How does that direct quote, if you're going to use it, reflect upon your argument? And indeed, you've got to do this for paraphrasing as well. Even if you paraphrase information, you still have to draw that information back to your argument and say, this information is important to the case and the information of ERP because of boom, boom, boom. So really, always be evaluating what you're saying, bringing it back to your main argument so that it shows your lecturer that you really understand the complex elements of what you're looking at of the case. Okay, a few examples of how to reference. You should know this, but again, surname, comma, initial, no comma, 2006, comma. Notice that the title is in italics and doesn't have, has what we call minimal capitalization. So it's got a capital A, the rest of the letters are not capitalized. Then we've got the publisher and the city of publication. Okay, with a journal article, again, same idea. Surname, comma, initial, year, comma. The journal title is in single quotation marks. It's not capitalized, and we have, again, minimal capitalization. So a capital A, here we've got a capital A after the semicolon, and a capital A for Australia because it's a proper noun. Then we have a comma. Innovation Management Policy and Practice is in italics. Volume is in small letters with a dot, 13, number, dot, 1, P, and the page numbers there. If your journal article doesn't have a volume number, if it doesn't have an issue number, you probably need to get online, look up the journal, look up Innovation Management Policy and Practice, find volume 13, and find out what issue number it is. Not all journals have issue numbers, but it's better to find out if it has one, as it's much more thorough referencing and shows that you're going to the nth degree to produce good academic work. Okay, referencing magazines, it's really a combination between books and authors, books and journals. Again, surname, initial, year, comma. Death Wish is the title of the article in the magazine, in inverted commas, and the magazine is in italics. And then you give the month, the date that the magazine was published between, and the page number that the article started on. Okay, again, very simple, very quickly reference this. Starts a new page, goes in alphabetical order on the vertical, not on the horizontal. Never change the order of the authors as they appear in your sources. Only do the alphabetical on the vertical lines. No bullet points, leave a big space between each entry. Look very closely at the punctuation and formatting. I tried to bring that to your attention previously. Obviously, different publication details are required for different sources, depending on whether it's a journal, a magazine, and so on. Really, always use your Harvard referencing guide. There's lots of examples in the Harvard referencing guide. It's very easy to find online. It's there and available for you. Okay, plagiarism, everyone should know what plagiarism is, but basically avoid it by always referencing as much as possible another person's ideas, opinions, or theories, even if you use your own words, even if you paraphrase. So another person's spoken or written words, again, you're going to reference those. If you use facts, statistics, graphics, drawings, numbers, any non-givens, any not common information, basically every paragraph should at least have one reference. There's our reference list, just because we're good academics too. There's lots of help and useful resources out there. So there's the Harvard Referencing Guide URL. There's lots of help for writing annotated bibliographies. There's help from the library specific to your course. There's a YouTube video made by a colleague of ours at CQUniversity's Academic Learning Center. Go to YouTube, put in annotated bibliography and Academic Learning Center. You'll get a 15-minute film talking about annotated bibliographies. Very useful if you want more specific ideas on assignment 1. Again, some other interesting information on annotated bibliographies from other universities. There are more tutorials on YouTube. If you want more about referencing a journal article, go to YouTube, type in reference a journal article, CQU. Again, there's a 40-minute presentation about CQU Harvard referencing. If any of the information that I gave you before wasn't very clear or you weren't totally au fait or very happy with that. So there's lots of information out there for you. Go and seek it. The ALC Moodle page is obviously there. It's on Moodle. Go to the academic communication, the orange door. You'll get lots of help with your writing there, lots of resources for referencing and various other help. Also, you can ask for collaborate sessions if you're a distance student and get in touch with us there. We're here to help you, and that's what we do. Okay, so just to wrap up, take a holistic approach to this assignment. I think it's really, really important. Do lots of research before you begin, even the annotated bibliography. For all of your assignments, always research before you begin. You should know your argument before you begin writing. Always use the CQU Harvard referencing guide. It's very easily available. Do avoid plagiarism. Use references and other sources to support your argument all the time as much as possible. You've got to do in-text referencing and a reference list, single quotation marks and numbers in direct quotations. But again, be careful about directly quoting too much. Thanks for your attention, and see you in the ALC or online in a Collaborate session. Cheers, bye-bye.